Today is a somber day for us Rams Nation. If you are not aware, then I shall make you aware. We have taken our second loss of the season, 24-16, to our divisional rivals, the San Francisco 49ers, who play in Santa Clara, but that's semantics, I suppose. What to say? Well, I think the most apt word to describe this game from a Rams perspective, from a blue perspective, would be slow. I just felt slow, like you don't have enough oil in the tank. You know, nothing's greased up. Metal rubbing against metal. You can hear your belt screeching when you turn your key over. That horrible, horrible sound. That's what I heard on every offensive drive of the Rams in the first half. First half, I believe we were kept under 100 yards total. First quarter, I know we were kept under 35 yards total offensively. Just not a great showing. Jared Goff, our quarterback number 16, who had been looking so steady these past 5 weeks, struggled mightily in this first half. I think he only had like 3 completions through the first quarter and a half. It was a healthy dose of humble pie. In the words of Khabib Nurmagomedov, stay humble, brother. We're staying humble today. The bad. I've been saying this the last couple of hang tens. If you've been listening, stop the run. It's been a consistent thorn in our side, and it showed up yet again today. Raheem Mostert, who is, a very talented running back, had his way. He did get injured. Hasty and McKinnon came in and pretty much finished the job. Every time the Niners, Deebo Samuel also had some pretty key runs. Whenever the Niners needed a big run, they just seemed to get it. It was like they were making withdrawals from an ATM when it came to their running game. On the Rams, we had 2 disclaimer. I did fall asleep a little bit in the game. I mean, what are you going to do? 2 red zone, 2 times we made it into the Ram zone. That's us Rams. 1 resulted in no points. And, it resulted in a field goal. And the other resulted in a turnover. A interception in the end zone. It was the most Pete Carroll call that I thought we could make. Just an absolutely terrible call. Darrell Henderson was having a decent day. I think he clocked in around 88 rushing yards. And we're all going to have our Pete Carroll moments. So, it is what it is. But that was definitely a Pete Carroll moment. Passing when we should be running. Falling in love with one avenue instead of taking the other. We also had a lack of pressure tonight. The 49er offensive line did a tremendous job of giving Garoppolo the time he needed to deliver the balls where they needed to go. Many of which went to George Kittle, one of the best tight ends of the game, if not the best. He's like Travis Kelce 3 years ago, Rob Gronkowski 8 years ago. This guy's a stud, man. All around disappointing. I mean, we did come out. We did play better in the second half. We made some adjustments. We took more chances downfield. So that was good to see. Ultimately, it was enough. 24-16 is the final clip. Rams moved to 4-2. Niners are now at 500 at 3-3, I believe. It is what it is. We'll take this one on the chin, and we shall move on to next week. I'm not sure who will be playing next week. Let me check real quick. We'll be playing the Bears. Oh, joy. The great thing about Chicago is that their offense is absolute trash. It's gross, man. It's Rex Gross, man. That's the Chicago offense. But that defense, holy shit, that defense is léger. That defense is stifling. It's trifling. It's all kinds of bad news Bears. They will be coming to Los Angeles to Stan Canyon on the 26th. And that's gonna be a game to keep your eye on. Need that win. Need to rack up as many NFC wins as we can. Right now, our only loss in the conference is to the 49ers. With the new playoff format, it's very possible that one of the one of the more average teams can get in. Now, I'm not saying the Rams are an average team. Not at all. In fact, I believe we're an above average team. But we did fall into the trap today of playing the Niners at their level, which is like their greatest attribute. They tend to bring people down to their level, to a dogfight. Well, we lost. So that's your Rams recap. Some other things that happened. Some Hang 10 Quinn's quick hits. On Saturday night, Brian Ortega returned from a 2-year layoff after his historic beatdown at the hands of our champion, Max Holloway. He returned Saturday night and he fought the Korean zombie, Chen Sung-jun, holder of one of the fastest knockouts in UFC history and one of the greatest nicknames, that being the Korean zombie. And one of the questions going in was how Brian Ortega was going to look after a 2-year layoff, some of which was marred by injury. But he came in and he looked renewed. He looked disciplined. He stuck to a game plan. He had a real nice, crisp jab. He was able to keep things on the outside, utilize defensive jab work to not allow Chan Sung-jung to close the distance and hit him with some nasty hooks. Brian actually dropped Korean Zombie twice. Once was with I believe it was a right hand in the first round, and then second, third round, he hit him with a spinning elbow. My goodness, we're throwing spinning shit now, in the words of Nick Diaz. Yes, we are. But basically, Brian Ortega secured a 5-round decision, and he is being held up as your next challenger to Alexander Volkanovski for the featherweight UFC title, though it is not disputed. I repeat, it is not undisputed. Alexander Volkanovski is the disputed featherweight champion. All those with a pair of eyes and a frontal lobe attached to the rest of the brain know that Max Holloway is your unofficial UFC featherweight champion. Anyone who saw the Volkanovski-Holloway 2 fight, I mean, come on. We know who won that fight. And furthermore, if it was a fight to the death, then we know who would win that fight. And that's Hawaii all day, all night. The real Fight Island, Oahu. Anywho, it was announced recently. It was kind of a self-made fight between Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. But it was announced by Dana White, by the UFC. Dana White is pretty much the UFC. That they are looking to secure contracts for a date, January 23rd. Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 2. Now, this is a rematch. In their first fight, Poirier got dusted in the first round via TKO finish by Conor McGregor. It was in Conor McGregor's initial rise to stardom. I believe right after he knocked out Dustin, he went on to fight Dennis Seaver, and then to fight Chad Mendes, then to Jose Aldo. You know the story from there. Dustin Poirier, since the first Conor McGregor fight, has grown exponentially. We're talking wins over Justin Gaethje, who will be fighting this weekend, UFC 254 against Khabib Nurmagomedov. Wins against Eddie Alvarez, former UFC lightweight champion, former Bellator lightweight champion. Wins against our very own Max Holloway, unofficial featherweight champion. So Dustin has grown tremendously, particularly with his boxing, and particularly in the mental side of the game. He has hardened his mental fortitude, much like a diamond, fitting of his nickname. So hopefully that fight can get secured. 2 storylines will eventually come out of that fight. A, what happens if Conor McGregor wins? B, what happens if Conor McGregor loses? If Conor McGregor wins, now the general idea is that he will then fight Khabib Nurmagomedov if Khabib is successful in getting past Justin Gaethje. That's a big if. Conor McGregor wants that fight against Khabib. The UFC wants that fight against Khabib. Khabib does not want that fight. Not because Khabib doesn't think he can't win that fight, but because it's not worth it to Khabib. He smashed this guy. This Conor McGregor, he smashed him, bro. He smashed him, as he says. But that's the big money fight. And as we know in combat sports, so much of this entire business is driven by currency. What Khabib would like to do, if he is successful in securing a victory over Justin Gaethje, getting to 29-0, unparalleled in the world of mixed martial arts. He would like to fight George St. Pierre for his potential 30th victory. That, to me, is the fight. At catchweight, 165. George St. Pierre versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. If Khabib is successfully getting it past Justin, then he's neck and neck for GOAT conversation. What better way to separate yourself in that GOAT conversation than to take on one of those other GOAT heads, George St. Pierre? At mutual ground, 165. I can't think of anything better. That fight would be nuclear from a meritocratic standpoint. So that's your first storyline. Storyline A. If Conor wins, he will angle for the Khabib fight. Will Khabib give it to him? Does Khabib want to revisit those poisonous waters, that vitriol that Conor slung his way unsuccessfully? The second storyline. What if Conor loses to Dustin Poirier? Very possible. Very possible. What if Conor loses to Dustin Poirier? Worse yet, what if Conor gets starches by Poirier? What if Conor gets finished by Dustin? Well, that changes the entire narrative, doesn't it? And it also, in my opinion, changes the entire narrative of Conor McGregor's career. Conor McGregor has one win at the 155-pound division, and that is against Eddie Alvarez in their title, not unification bout, but as Conor McGregor jumped from 145 to 155, he faced Eddie Alvarez, the undisputed lightweight champion at the time, dusted him 2 rounds, became the champ. Hence, the term was coined. If Conor McGregor gets starches by Dustin Poirier, his entire lightweight legacy is in question. Where does he go from here? If he loses to Dustin Poirier, there is no way on God's green earth he can put himself in the conversation for a title fight with anything short of 2 victories to back it up. Now, he could leave the division. He's made talks about going to 170. He could go to welterweight. He could look for that third fight with our guy, Nate Diaz, the king of Northern California, as so dubbed by the Closers podcast. He could look for a fight with Jorge Masvidal, should Masvidal not face Colby Covington, or should he face Colby Covington? There's big money there. But the point, in fact, is if Conor McGregor loses this fight to Dustin Poirier, there is not a path back to the title for this man. So I hope he's taking it seriously, as it was indicated in the Khabib fight that he did not take his training camp seriously. So I implore you, Conor McGregor, to take this fight seriously, or your career could very much be on the line. There's been rumors, there's been whispers of a McGregor-Pacquiao fight for God knows what reason. Money. We know the reason. But it makes no sense from a spectator standpoint why anyone would want to see Conor McGregor fight Manny Pacquiao in a boxing match, most likely in the Middle East, now that both fighters are under paradigm management. Let me put it to you like this. Conor McGregor fighting Manny Pacquiao is essentially taking a dive. Taking a dive for money. There is no way on God green earth that Conor McGregor can outbox Manny Pacquiao. Impossible. Impossible. Now, impossible isn't the correct word. Of course, anything is possible. An asteroid could strike me down right now as I'm uttering these very words. It's possible. It is highly improbable. Highly improbable. The probability of me being struck by an asteroid right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, was higher than Conor McGregor beating Manny Pacquiao in a boxing match. That's like me walking up to the second greatest player in NBA history, the third greatest player, the fourth greatest player in NBA history, LeBron James, and challenged him to a game of one-on-one, knowing that believing that I could beat him. It's impossible. Inconceivable, to quote the Princess Bride. So there's a lot on the line for Conor McGregor in this fight. Potential rematch with Khabib? Meh, maybe. Potential career ender? Meh, maybe. Very, very possible. Speaking of Khabib, I would be absolutely remiss if I did not preach to you, if I did not implore you this weekend, this upcoming Saturday, UFC 254, Khabib, the most dominant fighter in UFC, arguably MMA history, will be defending his lightweight title against Justin Gaethje. That's 155 pounds in a 5-round contest. Khabib, of course, we all know, is 28-0, the Eagle, fighting out of Eagles MMA in his native Dagestan in a mixed camp with AKA under the tutelage of Coach Javier Mendez, another NorCal legend. We all know Khabib's greatness. We all know his smothering, mauling, smishing style. What about Justin Gaethje, also known as the human highlight, 22-2. Takedown defense, 80%. That's a key stat. Only one decision in 22 fights. But let's talk about Justin Gaethje's takedown defense because it's deceptive. And let's talk about his wrestling acumen, which is going to be one of the greater storylines going into this fight. Justin Gaethje is a collegiate wrestler. He's been wrestling at a very young age, since pre-middle school. He has the acumen, I guess you could say. He has the resume in American-style wrestling to give people pause, to make people wonder. But there is a significant difference in American-style wrestling and Russian-style wrestling. And I don't know. I just don't see much of a correlation between the two, between folk style and sambo. And let's be fair, Justin Gaethje had a criticism of Khabib Nurmagomedov, saying he had favorable matchups against people who aren't highly decorated in wrestling. Well, Justin Gaethje gets favorable matchups in the fact that he's always pitted against another great striker for the UFC to exploit wars out of this guy. Anybody who believed that Tony Ferguson was going to go into the Gaethje bout looking to wrestle is a goof. Same with Eddie Alvarez, same with Dustin Poirier, same with Michael Johnson, same with Edson Barbosa. So let's be absolutely clear. Let's be crystalline. Justin Gaethje has never faced anyone with the degree of dominance in the world of grappling as Khabib Nurmagomedov. And it could be argued that Khabib hasn't faced anyone with the toughness and the striking capabilities of Justin Gaethje. I don't think Justin's wrestling is his avenue to success in this fight. I think it's going to be his leg kicks. Try to take the base out from under Khabib, ending his 2-3 punch combinations with a leg kick, with a calf kick. Swell up those legs. Take the base out from under him. Water in the basement. That's what I think the key is to Justin. Take out the legs, and you'll be able to get your combinations off cleanly with him as the fight progresses. For Khabib, we know what Khabib's going to do. Khabib's going to look to push him, pressure against the fence, take him down. The Dagestani leg clamps, the Dagestani leg irons, the handcuffs, and he will look to smash him, brother, and progress to 29-0 with a potential fight with George St. Pierre on the horizon. Oh my God. That is singularly the biggest sporting event this weekend. Now that basketball is done and over with, in our this is kind of a longer episode, but Marco in his closing out the week does a theme of the week. So I shall briefly touch on a quink of the week, and that is absolutism. I'll say it again. Absolutism. What does that word mean? Well, absolutism, in which only a Sith deals in, basically means the acceptance or belief in absolute principles, philosophies, ethical, theological, political, blah, 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 blah. Pretty much no middle ground, no nuance, binary, white and black. There are one of two ways. There is good, there is evil. This is absolutism. These are the sort of things only a Sith deals in, as I said earlier. Absolutism is becoming an increasingly prevalent raincoat in today's society. People are putting this coat on as a form of armor, as a form of defense. They don't want to hear nuance. They don't want to hear questions to their specific ideologies or their ways of thinking. This is how ideologies and thinking grows. By questions, by challenges. It doesn't matter if you're left, you're right, you're white, you're black, you're brown, you're libertarian, you're communist. If you do not permit questions, who, what, when, where, why, that is dealing in absolutism. And the only thing that's absolute about absolutism is that it's absolutely fucking stupid. And that is my note for the week. With that being said, I want to thank you guys for sticking in here. A little bit longer of an episode than usual. As always, stay safe, stay smart, God bless, and I shall see you guys on the other side of an exciting weekend. Adios.